These really surprised me. Complete flop, and these are about to bloom. Let me show you some of the newest seeds that I picked up. All right, let's go ahead and propagate the snapdragons. That helps control fungus gnat larvae in the soil. 4 tablespoons per 1 gallon of water. The Oriental Poppy Royal Wedding, I want more of them. How's it growing? Today we're gonna do a seedling update. I'm gonna address a question that keeps coming up for winter sowing. I'm gonna share a helpful hack for fungus gnats, and I got a bunch of new seeds that I'm gonna share with you. Let's start with an indoor seed starting update. Originally, when I set up my grow shelf, I had it here on this wall, but this vent up top where the heat return is, I feel like the air was drying out my container. So what I did was instead, I moved the grow shelf to this wall here. And this is where it's been for a couple of weeks now. And things are doing really well. A couple of things a little too well. I actually started this stock here back on the 8th of January, which was at least a month too early, because as you can see, it is all budded up and getting ready to bloom. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let it bloom, and then I am going to pinch it. I'm gonna cut it back and see if it branches back out. Typically, you don't want to pinch stock because it's a one and done type flower, but this is a branching variety, which means it does naturally have side shoots. So I think that if I pinch it or cut off this top growth, it should branch out and provide more side shoots and in turn more blooms. But because I started those a little bit too early, I did go ahead and a month later, I started a new tray of this baby rainbow stock. And as you can see, it germinates really well, almost 100% germination rate. And so these are going to be a little bit behind the other set, but I'm gonna plant them all out probably about the second week or so of April. Here it is, the stock baby rainbow from Baker Creek. Has these really beautiful shades of a light creamy ivory color in the center and then like a pink. So I think that's going to be really beautiful. In addition to the stock, I started a bunch of other things. Bachelor's buttons, you can see that the first batch of these dwarf bachelor's buttons are looking really good. I also had great germination on those. And because I wanted just a few more, I did go ahead and start yet another tray. And those are doing well also. So they are right here. You can see that pretty decent germination on those. Here it is. And because they are dwarf, they're shorter in stature and shouldn't need any staking. A lot of times the bachelor's buttons get to be a little bit tall and lanky, about 24 inches or so, and then they flop a little if you don't stake them. But these here say that they only get to be about 7 inches in height. So I thought that these would be a great idea to use in the front of my main walkway border this season. I didn't plant any bulbs, so I just have some daffodils out there, but I thought that these would be a good replacement for things like tulips that I like to try to put in that area. So we'll see how that goes. And something else that did okay for me is this type of snapdragon. Now this is the Madam Butterfly. I grew these last year. They are gorgeous. And I had just the end of a seed packet, not that many seeds. And you can see that I have about 5 plants that did really well. I have one that was late to the party and these 2 that appear to be stunted. So what I'm going to do is something I've never done before. I'm actually going to try to propagate these seedlings because I don't have any more of the Madam Butterfly snapdragons. We're going to go ahead and cut these, and so that's essentially going to serve as a pinch. And we're going to try to root some of these because I have this tray of snapdragons that did terribly. These are not doing well at all. This is the Orange Wonder Snapdragon. Now the seeds are a little bit older. I purchased them from Baker Creek a couple of years ago, and I just had shoddy germination. I actually overseeded these a couple of times in hopes that I would get some more. And you can see they're at all different stages, but they were started at essentially the same time as the Madam Butterfly. And look at that difference. The Madam Butterfly is doing wonderfully, and these are not. So we are going to get rid of these, and in this tray, I'm going to go ahead and propagate those snapdragons. These are the Orange Wonder Snapdragons. Now these seeds were from 2024, so only a couple of seasons old, but they just didn't do well. And I'm finding that quite a bit this year with some packs of seeds that I've only had for about 2 seasons. The germination has gone down quite a bit. Specifically with these viola and pansy seeds. Now both of these were purchased in 2020 2024, I believe it was. No, they were actually packed for 2025, and I used the rest of these seeds this year in 2026, and I've overseeded these at least twice, which means that I seeded the first batch, I had terrible germination, and so I went ahead and I sowed some more. And as you can see, I do have a few seedlings here now, so I'm gonna move them around, give them some fertilizer once they all have their first set of true leaves, and I should have enough for this season, and I'll have to start with a fresh pack next year. And here are the pansies, Black Devil, the same thing. This one had even a little bit worse germination. I believe that these were 1 year older. So the violas were from 2025, and these here you can see were from 2024. The Pansy Black Devil from Baker Creek. These are absolutely gorgeous. They have the deepest, darkest purple black coloring. This is the closest you're going to get to a black bloom in this pansy. These here really surprised me. I've had a little bit of a difficult time with the germination on nasturtiums this year. And this variety is actually a new one that I purchased this year. It is the Hummingbird Nasturtiums Aloha Mix, which looks like it has a mix of a rosy pink, maybe a salmon, and a golden yellow. And the instructions with nasturtium seeds are to soak them for 24 hours before you sow them in your soil. Because they have a really dense and hard outer shell, by soaking them, it will soften that up and help them more readily germinate. Well, I did that. I soaked the seeds for 24 hours. My soil was moistened, and I sowed 1 seed per cell, so a total of 8 seeds, and I only got 2 plants, which was not great. And then in the same order, I had picked up another variety of nasturtium. This one here is the Cherries Jubilee, and I'll show you what that looks like, but these look great. On this variety, I got 50% germination. So out of 8 cells, with soaking them for 24 hours, I got 4 plants. But you can see how vigorous these plants are. They look wonderful. So this is just a month or so of growth. I sowed these on the 26th of January. It is now the 18th of February, and they look really good. These are ready to be transplanted into a little bit bigger pot, and I'm going to put them now in some potting soil. This is all seed starting soil, and I'm also going to start to fertilize them, and they'll be really great for some early spring color in my containers. So if you haven't grown nasturtium yet, really great plant. You just have to kind of figure out what works in terms of the germination. Now this variety, the Cherries Jubilee, this is what they looked like. A really pretty kind of rose color. And this pack here was a type of nasturtium that I've had the seeds for a couple of years. So what I did differently here was I soaked these seeds for 3 days instead of 1 day. So instead of 24 hours, we went with 72 hours. And I also had only 50% germination, but because these seeds were older, I don't think that's terrible. And they germinated pretty quickly, only in about 3 or 4 days, which was excellent. Where the other nasturtiums took about just over a week, about 10 days to germinate. So 3 days of soaking the nasturtium seeds overall gave me a faster germination rate. So if you are going to grow nasturtiums this year, something to consider. And this is that variety that I've had since 2024. It's the Nasturtium Tip Top Pink Blush from Baker Creek. Really pretty one as well. And check out this cutie. This is the New Look Dusty Miller, and it's just starting to push out its silvery foliage. If you've never grown Dusty Miller before, this New Look is a great variety. Typically at the store, you will find the ones that have the cuts in the foliage that look more ferny. This variety of Dusty Miller, the New Look, has a broader foliage, a bigger foliage, really beautiful and super easy to grow from seed. The seeds were pelletized, which makes them easier to work with, and I only had one, this one here, that hadn't germinated, so I put a new seed in there, so it's a little bit behind, but I'm going to end up with about 8 plants, and I really love these. So a must grow for me every year is the New Look Dusty Miller. And I mentioned that I wanted to grow lisianthus for the first time this year, and here they are. These were started on January 8th, and they are itty bitty. I started 3 of these cell packs for a total of 24 seeds, and I only got 7 to germinate. Actually, you can see that 6 look a pretty good size, and then there is 1 that was late to the party right there. So not great germination for my first go at lisianthus, but I'm happy to even have this many. And because they're putting out their first set of true leaves at this point, it is time to fertilize them, so we're going to take care of that. And a quick update on this Vego grow shelf that we put together in a video back in December. When I initially put it up, it came with 2 grow shelves and 3 grow lights. And as it so often happens, as I grew more seedlings and as I've had to pot things up, you quickly run out of space. And I didn't realize this at the time, but I went on the Vego website and you can order additional accessories to expand upon your growing space. So I was able to order another 2-pack of shelves and another single grow light. So now I have a total of 4 shelves and 4 grow lights going. And if I wanted to, I could add even a 5th grow light at the bottom there. So I thought that was great. If you're in need of any grow light equipment or a shelving unit like this, check out the links below. And I always have an exclusive Hooked and Rooted promo code to save you some money off your purchase. And another super easy plant to start from seed that does really well in the cool temperatures of spring and fall, Alyssum. This goes from seed to bloom in about 8 weeks. And recently I picked up this variety from Botanical Interests. It is the Alyssum Sweet Oriental Nights. It is a shade of purple. And I have this one that I had purchased last year that I've grown quite a bit, and it is beautiful. It is the Carpet of Snow. It is a white Alyssum. These are also fragrant. They smell like honey and they germinate so fast. It is the 18th of February. I started these on the 12th of February, and in 3 days I had germination, and this is how much they've grown. Now I do have to go through and thin these out to only 1 seed per cell, but I did 2 trays of the white, 2 trays of the purple, and they're looking really good. All right, let's do a little seedling maintenance. So here is my lisianthus. I'm gonna place it in this container here. This is just like a takeout container, and I'm gonna let it bottom water with the fertilizer. And to fertilize my seedlings, I'm gonna use the Espoma Organic Grow Fertilizer, and I just do it at half strength, which means that whatever the instructions say on the back, I'm gonna use half of that quantity. So I'm gonna use about a half a capful. And I'm gonna put it here in my small watering can. This is what I use for fertilizing. And I'm gonna fill it with water. It's a concentrate, so you're gonna dilute it with water. And with seedlings, you always wanna start with a diluted fertilizer at half strength or less, because you don't wanna burn your seedlings. They're still very young and not very mature, so you wanna take it slow. And so I'm gonna go ahead and just pour my fertilizer right into the bottom of this tray here. Woo, that got a little crazy. And we're just gonna let it sop it up. And that's it. We took care of fertilizing our lisianthus. And whatever's left in this container, I'll throw a different plant in there, maybe my Dusty Miller, to start fertilizing things that have already gotten their second set of leaves. Now the next thing we're gonna do is propagate our snapdragons. These were a complete flop, these Snapdragons Orange Wonder. So we're gonna go ahead and make use of this tray. We're gonna prick out these seedlings, and I'm going to repurpose this soil to propagate these Madam Butterfly Snapdragons. So all I'm doing is using a chopstick to pull them out. This one even has some discoloration on it, looks like chlorosis. So they're just not healthy seedlings. All right, we'll get rid of the tag so that I don't mistake those. So here are the Madam Butterfly, and what I'm gonna do is make a cut above the second set of leaves. So here is the cotyledons, here is the first set of true leaves, and we're gonna cut right here. And what this is essentially doing is it is pinching the snapdragon so that it's going to put out more side shoots, which means you'll get more branching and more blooms. And we're going to utilize this top portion to start a new plant. So I'm just going to hold it by the leaves. I'm going to place it right here for now so I can make all my cuts first, and then we will dip it in some rooting hormone and get it going. So there we are. And I've had this bottle for quite a long time. I probably paid $5 for it. It'll last forever. And I'm just gonna put a little bit of the powder in the lid. And I'm gonna take this cutting and I'm just going to do that. And what I want to do is use my chopstick to make a hole, because I don't want to press this cutting into the soil very hard because I don't want to take off the rooting hormone or snap the stem. So if I make a big enough hole, I can just place that right inside and then pinch the soil over to settle it in. You also want to cut off some of this foliage so that it can work on root development and not having to support all of these extra leaves. And I've never done this before, but I think that this is going to work just fine. All right. And then we'll get some more plants out of it. You can also propagate Snapdragon cuttings in water. You can just put them in a cup of water, and when they start growing some roots, you can go ahead and plant them into the soil. But my soil is moistened, so I think this is going to work just fine. So there we are. We have 5 cuttings, and I'll be sure to share with you how this works out. I'm placing my Snapdragon cuttings on this tray here. I have a heat mat underneath, which should help with that root development. And you can see these are the ones that I pinched, and I'm using the tops to propagate. So I essentially doubled my stock of this Madam Butterfly Snapdragon. So I'm hopeful that we'll get some roots in the next couple of weeks. If you've ever grown seedlings indoors, you know that one of the things that you sometimes have to deal with are fungus gnats, those irritating little bugs that look like fruit flies. Well, last year I had a friend that shared something that she's been doing to control fungus gnats, and I gave it a shot and it works really well for me. It is these mosquito bits. Now there is a key ingredient in here, a bacteria called Bacillus thuringiensis or BTI that helps control fungus gnat larvae in the soil. So it takes care of things before they ever hatch and become an issue. So what you do is you take, there is instructions on the back of this package that tells you specifically for fungus gnat larva control. You want to do 4 tablespoons per 1 gallon of water. So I have a scoop that I've put in here that has a measurement of 1 tablespoon. And the best thing that I have found to do this with, in fact, on the instructions, it does say to use like a nylon stocking. So I had these opaque stockings or pantyhose that were ripped. So I cut off the feet, and that's what I'm using to dunk inside my watering can. So you just open this up, and you're going to put 4 tablespoons of these mosquito bits into your little pouch that you've created here. That's 2, 3, and 4. And then you just give it a knot like you would tie a balloon. And you're going to sink it into your watering can. Now this is a 1 gallon watering can. I'm going to fill it up with water, and I let the water sit overnight, so for 24 hours, so that it can do its thing. And then you just water your seedlings with it, and that is going to control your fungus gnats. Here's a question that I think might come up, and I might not have addressed it, but how often do I switch out the mosquito bits in my watering can? About every 2 weeks or so, I will go grab my little pouch, dump out the mosquito bits, and I will start over with 4 new tablespoons of mosquito bits. And I always have this container filled with water near my seedlings so that anytime I need to water my seedlings, I have the water that's already been treated and soaked with the mosquito bits ready to go. If you've been around my channel for a little while, you know that I love to grow my seeds with a method called winter sowing. It's the process of starting your seeds outdoors in winter using a recycled container to make a mini greenhouse. And if it's something you're interested in, I did make a full video recently that goes over the supplies that you need, how it's done, as well as the results so that you know what to expect once spring arrives. And one question that keeps coming up is what happens if my winter sowing containers are buried in snow? As you can see, mine are doing exactly that at the moment. They are buried under about 10 inches of snow, and it's totally okay. Your seeds currently just need moisture and cold temperatures. Once the weather warms up, the snow is going to melt, and at that point is when your seeds will begin germinating, and that is when they'll need sunlight. So if your seeds are currently buried, don't worry, it's totally okay. And as you can see, I've continued to create more winter sowing containers as I get more seeds and more containers available to me. I just love to winter sow, and currently I'm up to about 33 containers. And by the time all is said and done, I'll probably be closer to 40 because I have a few more things that I'm going to wait to winter sow until about the end of March or beginning of April. And if you're wondering if you can still winter sow, yes, it's not too late. You can winter sow in general in most areas at least through March. So if you're interested in the winter sowing method, I will link that video down below so that you can check it out if you're interested. Let me show you some of the newest seeds that I picked up. So I did order some from Botanical Interests, and this was the first time that I've ordered from Botanical Interests. Normally I buy their seeds at my local nursery, but I wanted to try a different variety of Gomphrena. If you've been around the channel for a while, you know that I love Gomphrena, and this one is the Fiery Sunrise blend, which has some orange, some red, as well as some pink. So we're gonna give that a try. And the Oriental Nights Alyssum that I showed you earlier. And also a really cool new variety, new to me anyhow, of echinacea or coneflower. This one's called Allen's Pride, and it has a lime green color, so I think that'll be really interesting. Now, I have already winter sown these. I used all of the seeds in 2026. There were only 10 seeds in this container, so I went ahead and just sowed all of them. And I just wanted to show you that they also offer a free pack of seeds with their seed packets. So I know that Baker Creek does that, and it was nice to see that Botanical Interests also does. And then they give you some seed starting guides. And since Epic Gardening does own Botanical Interests now, some more information, as well as 10% off your next purchase. Not sponsored, I paid for these with my own money, but I just thought that I would show you in case you've never ordered from them before. This was my first time also. And here are the other seeds that I ordered from Select Seeds. Now, I have ordered from Select Seeds before. I really like their seeds. I am particularly fond of seed packets that have a photo because I like to see what the flower should look like. And I prefer the photo packs over the ones that are just black and white or printed with words. And so Select Seeds always has some really nice packets. And here's what I picked up. Now, I do love Nasturtium, so I picked up four new varieties to try. This is the Nasturtium Baby Rose. I've grown this one before. It is gorgeous. This is the closest to a pink Nasturtium that I have seen. It's like a deep fuchsia color, and the foliage is almost like a blue-green. Very pretty. And it's also a little bit more dainty. It's a smaller plant. This one says that it gets to be 1 foot high by 1.5 foot wide. Makes a great container plant. This variety, I really liked this deep orange color. I'm fond of this color petal or flower on the Sun Patience, so I thought that I would try it in a Nasturtium as well. This one is called Milkmaid, and it is a white, creamy white color nasturtium. And this one is called Moonlight, and I actually picked this one up because it's a trailing variety. It grows up from 1 to 6 feet in height. So I want to try growing nasturtium on my garden arbor this year. So we'll see how that goes. I also picked up a couple of perennials. So this Oriental Poppy Royal Wedding, I actually have a couple of these plants out in my garden that I bought as regular perennials, already started as a plant, and I want more of them for my new well bed that we created last fall. So I thought that I would try growing them from seed, and I have already winter sown these, and I did document that I used all of the seeds in 2026. This one is a new to me variety of coneflower as well. It is the Echinacea pallida, or the pale purple coneflower. I really like these dainty downswept petals. I think it's going to be really pretty, so I'm trying that one out as well. A new to me foxglove. Now, I adore foxgloves. They're beautiful. They are toxic, so if you have children or pets that frequent your garden, something to be aware of. But this strawberry foxglove Summer King is supposed to be a more reliable perennial foxglove. If you've ever grown them before, you do know that foxgloves are biennial, which means that in year 1, they work on foliage and root development, and then finally in year 2, you will get these beautiful bloom stalks. But this one is supposed to be perennial, meaning that it comes back year after year. So we're going to give that a go. This is another perennial that I picked up. It is bergamot or bee balm, and it is the lemon bergamot. And I thought that was really beautiful. It's like a purple color. I think the shape of the blooms are cool. So we're going to try those out. And I also used all of these seeds. I winter sowed them. So that's all done. And I tried these last year. Some of you had warned me that these can be quite invasive. I only had a couple of plants that germinated. So far they were well behaved. They did not bloom for me last year. I'm guessing they'll bloom this year, but I did go ahead and pick up another pack, and I also winter sowed a few of these. And some more fun annuals. This is a really cool type of celosia because it has this shape. It reminds me very much of a brain, all of these creases and folds, and I think they're just really interesting. So I grew a variety last year that was a pink and orange, and it didn't do too well for me. It kind of got crowded out by other plants and it was a little shaded, but I picked up these two varieties this year, the Celosia Kramer's Rose and the Celosia Kramer's Burgundy. So we're gonna give it another go. I'm gonna put them in a really sunny spot, and I'm hoping that they'll do a lot better. I thought that these were gorgeous. I had seen Crane from Cranary Gardens grow this Shirley Poppy Mother of Pearl. They were stunning. And so I was inspired to pick up one of these packs. And I also winter sowed these. So poppies in winter sowing and I have not had a great history. They don't tend to do that well for me, but last year I had a little more luck. I had some really beautiful Flanders poppies that I winter sowed and they did so well. So we're gonna try it again with this variety, the Shirley Poppy Mother of Pearl. A couple more zinnias because I just can't get enough of zinnias, and this year I'm going all in on the zinnias in place of the dahlias. So I picked up Zinnia Zinderella Peach, which has a daintier bloom and grows 2 to 2.5 feet tall and 1 to 1.5 feet wide, and the Bennery's Giant Wine. I've grown this one before. It's absolutely beautiful, and I didn't have any more seeds, and when I realized it and I was putting in an order, I made sure to add another pack to my select seed order. And something that I've grown before, but it's been several years, but I decided I'd try it again this year, is calendula. And this is the cantaloupe mix, which has really soft shades of yellow and peach. And I think this will be a really pretty early spring flower. So I'm planning to grow an 8-pack of these, and we're gonna see how they do. They are not huge. They get 1.5 to 2 feet high and 1 foot wide. So I'm gonna give this one a go. Let me know what your experience is with calendula. From what I remember, the petals are very much like a straw flower. They have kind of a papery feel, and they're supposed to be a catch crop or a flower that traps insects, things like aphids. So nasturtiums are also like that. You kind of grow them as sacrificial plants. So we'll see how it goes. Here's the list that I've been keeping of all of the seeds that I have been starting winter sowing or inside, and the dates that I start them. And I'm actually about to start a few more. So I'm going to start this calendula this week coming, so about the 3rd week of February. And I'm also going to be starting at the same time some foxgloves. Now I did say that foxgloves are biennial, meaning that they bloom in year 2, but there are a couple of varieties that will bloom in year 1 if you start them early enough. The Dalmatian Peach is one of them, and the Camelot series is another. And so this year I'm growing the Dalmatian Peach again. It is beautiful. I've grown it for several years now, and new to me this year is the Camelot Lavender. So I'll be starting those as well as some vinca that I picked up to try this year. Let me show you that. I just grabbed these over at Walmart, and I've never grown them from seed, but vinca are such a great annual. They are drought tolerant, they're vigorous, nothing bothers them. They don't get diseases or pests. So a really great plant. So even if you don't start them from seed, if you see them at the nursery this season, try growing a couple. They're really great. So that's what I'm starting next on February 22nd. And these are 12 weeks out from my last frost date. And then on March 1st, I'm going to go ahead and start yet a few more things. Some amaranth, celosia, my blue horizon ageratum, and some verbena, which is also a new to me plant to start from seed this year. I also picked up this pack recently. So that's how my seed starting is going. So tell me, are you like me? You tell yourself that you're done buying seeds and inevitably you end up ordering more? I just can't help myself. Buying the seeds is the easy part. Planting everything out is usually the difficult part because you've got to find space for all of these plants you've been growing. Luckily for me, I am not planning on growing dahlias this year, so I should have room in my raised bed garden, but it's going to get real sticky if some of those dahlias come back and now I don't have any space. But it's been a really cold winter, so it's highly unlikely that that will happen. So let me know, how is your seed starting or planning going? Have you started any indoor seeds, or are you planning to do mostly winter sowing? I'd be curious to know. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I'll catch you in the next one.